good evening, yogis. Welcome. So for today's practice, we'll be working on a number of things that are related to opening the front line of the body. So starting at the tops of the feet, the shins, the quads, the chest, all the way up that way. So we'll start with a little bit of top of the foot stretching, and I'm going to show a couple different options just based on what you've got going on in your body. If your floor is hard, I definitely recommend a blanket just for a little extra push, and possibly a block. So some of you will be just able to sit like this quite easily, and if that's you, just hang out for a second. Sometimes we're here and then see how my feet, they're more like this instead of like that. If that's the case, I would suggest either folding or rolling up your blanket so that there's a little bit of a ledge there. That might feel better. And then for the, also anybody could sit on a block. I don't know if I said that. If all of this is no good for the knees, you'll just do the position standing with one foot like so. And you'll just bend a little bit and then swap to the second side. So plenty of choices here. I'm gonna be in this one. And as you're sitting in your position, some of you, if you're really tight in here, might already be getting the stretch just from what you're doing. If you need a little bit more, you can lean back and maybe lift one knee on the other. You can alternate a little bit. If you want to try both, that's an option too. And then one more possibility here. This is only for the kids who are on the floor. If you're standing, just keep doing your thing. A little fancy dance move. You'll lean to the left, and then on the right leg, you'll kind of swivel. So I'm still on the top of the foot, but the knee goes out to the side. And that should give you a stretch a little more deeply in a different spot. Yeah. And then we'll undo and lean a little to the right. Fancy dance move here. Swivel, open. Oh. Yeah, good. All right, hopefully you're feeling that a little bit in there. And now we'll just come to sit, and you can sit any way you like. We'll just kind of be still for a moment. I'm gonna sit on my blanket here. And give yourself just a little wobble moment to find center. And then let's take your hands on the pelvis and give a little bit of pressure down with your hands. And with this pressure down, think of lifting the rib cage up off of the pelvis, but not lifting the front ribs more than the side ribs and the back ribs. So think about just coming up like an elevator here. Yeah. And then back off. We'll do one more thing, same idea, different hand position. So take the hands like so. Stick your thumbs in the armpits like you've got a pair of suspenders on, and then you'll pull up again through the side body, and that might just help lift you a little more than the other version. It's coming at it in a different way. See if you can keep this idea of the length and the spaciousness as we release the arms, and then relax your head, your face, all the muscles in your face. And for the moment, can you lift a little bit up through the base of the skull, lifting it off the back of the neck. Relax your jaw. You might even give it a little wiggle. And then we'll just sit for a moment. Take a few breaths. When you're ready, let the chin bow down and let the eyes blink open. Bring the head back to center. If you're cross-legged, just change the leg cross to give you a moment on the other side. I'm going to turn to the side for a second. Let's take your hands, just interlace your fingers and hold the back of the head at the lower part of the head. Press the head and the hands into each other and draw upward gently. Let the elbows come in and feel how that moves the shoulder blades. They'll go wider apart. And then from here, continue a gentle pressure of head and hand into each other as the chest lifts and you arc back. Now it's meant to feel good. If you're feeling anything unpleasant, back off. Keep a little bit of tone just below the navel, and that'll help, that'll prevent you from going too far and also create a little support for the lower back. Yeah, okay. And then bring the head back to center. Release your arms. Let's stretch the legs out just in front of you and give a little bit of movement in the feet, the ankles, the toes, whatever feels right. Okay. And then we'll head on to all fours position here. Later on, you might want blocks, so just have them handy. And we'll start just moving through our classic cat and cow. So on your all fours, as the inhale happens, let the head and the tailbone lift. And on the exhale, you'll let the back round. So we'll keep this pattern going. And to create a little more opening through the front body, every time we come into cow pose, without moving your hands, just try to drag the wrists towards your knees. Notice what that does. And then when you round in the cat pose, let the effort go. Just do that a few times, a little extra pull. Great, so we're going to add on to this. Next time you round in the cat, let's go back to child's pose. Walk the arms forward. And then you'll bend the elbows for a second. Try to pull the hands towards the knees like we were just doing. As you come forward and up, let the arms straighten and then lift up into your cow pose. Round in the cat and back to child's pose we go. So take this a couple of times, and every time you transition from child's pose to come up, create that little pull effect, pulling the hands towards your knees. And then we'll take one more time, and on the next one, go to child's pose and have the toes tucked under. And this will stretch more the soles of the feet. You can walk the knees back and press the heels back if that feels okay. And notice if your heels are flopping apart, can you hug in a little bit through the ankles? Press the mat forward with the hands and draw back through the hips. Yeah, okay. So from here, let's slide the hands a little further out. Press down into the floor, around the back, first coming through cat, and keep coming until the spine unravels. We'll bend the elbows and lower all the way down to the belly. Then from here, once you're on the belly, we'll keep the hands palms down, lift the front of the shoulders away from the floor, and create a little bit of that pull effect here. So trying to pull hands to the feet, you'll come forward, you'll lift a little bit, but it's more of a forward action than an up action. Let's hold that in the chest, and then if you wish, you can lengthen the legs, draw back through the toes so much that they lift up a little off the floor. Great, lower yourself down. Then we'll do a similar position, but change what the hands are doing. So you'll make fists with the hands and have the part of your hand, like if you're wearing rings, that's the part of the hand on the floor. Chin will be a little tucked, and keep the forehead on the floor. I'm going to keep mine a little lifted though so I can talk better. You'll lift the front of the shoulders away from the mat and point the elbows towards the ceiling. Keep this position and just firmly press the knuckles down into the mat, and notice the effects in the upper back. And then we're back off. We'll do it again with an add-on. So press down with the knuckles, lift the shoulders away from the mat, elbows point towards the ceiling. Keep this little bit of pressure. And then the forehead will stay on the floor. Can you lift the hands just barely, keeping the fists so the knuckles maybe a millimeter off the floor? It's a lot of work. And then put the knuckles down, just rest for a second. We'll do that bit again with still one more add-on. So Find the pressure, knuckles press down, shoulders lift away from the floor, elbows point to the ceiling. Hold that pressure, knuckles pressing down, forehead is still touching the floor, and then let the hands lift just barely millimeter off the floor. Forehead is still down, way harder than it looks. And now from here, this add-in, this will be easier. Let's stretch the arms back. Go ahead and lift the forehead off the floor. Stretch the fingers back. And if you wish, you can lift the legs. So here we are in some more of a classic Shalabhasana. Great. Let's turn the head to one side as you lower down. Bend the knees. Give the legs a little swish side to side. And then after all of that, I think a down dog should feel pretty nice. Let's try it out. So you put the legs down, head back into your downward facing dog. Take any kind of movement here, whatever feels good. And then let's head to the front of the mat, bringing your feet to the hands. From your position, bend the knees a little bit, bring the hands to the hips and go wide with the elbows. Collarbones broaden, tone through the belly, and we'll hinge up with a flat back position, just coming to stand. Once you're standing, release the arms. Let's just take a little hula hoop asana, going around in little circles. Other direction. Yes. Okay, yogis. So let's head to the front of the mat if you're not already there. Mountain pose, feet together or a little apart, your choice. Root down through the feet. Use the inhale to lift, and let's stay lifted. Think of lifting the side body, the back body, as much as the front body here. So just a nice lifted shape. Inhale again. On the exhale, let's go down for forward fold. Halfway up we come. And then we'll spend a moment in plank pose, bringing the hands down. And if you need to put the knees down or do all fours position instead of plank, totally fine. Whatever you're in, can you clear the shoulders, zip up through the belly, just below the navel, lift that little spot, and then bring your feet or your knees closer together, a little closer than you normally would go. Don't go anywhere. Press the left foot or knee down a little more and let the right leg not really lift but just become lighter. Oh. And then do the other side. So the right one presses down into the floor. The left one doesn't lift, just lightens slightly. Okay. And then back to center. Reset your feet or your knees. Knees down to the floor. Let's come down to the belly here. Keep the hands where you have them. Just lift up a little bit and we'll do slither cobras. So just kind of working it out. Yes, yogis. Let the movement settle. Let's peel up just for a regular cobra. Inhale to do that. And then we'll head back into downward facing dog. Let's separate the feet a little wider than you normally do. Bend the knees, lift the heels, and try to press the mat forward in an effort to bring the hips back. And keeping the hips back, start to go straighter in your legs. Let's practice this action. And go ahead, bend the knees a little, not as much as you had before. At the tops of the thighs, press apart. In your feet, hug in a little through the ankles. Again, tops of the thighs apart, ankles hug in. Try to keep both of those as the legs start to go straighter. Tone a little bit through the low belly here as well. Yes, yogis. So let's bring the feet back, just normal position, downward dog. Come to the front of the mat, feet to the hands. Root down to rise up. Inhale, all the way we stand. And release the arms. Yeah, just do a little arm rotation a couple of times. Now our next little part, we'll do a lunge with the knee down. If you need any kind of padding, you can arrange that. Possibly here you might want the blocks. So here we are again in mountain pose. Inhale, up we come. Exhale, down we go, forward fold. From here, halfway up, lengthen. On the way down, step the right leg back, knee down on the floor. Your choice if you want the toes tucked or flat. I'll leave that up to you. Let's come up here for a sec, hands to the hips. And if, so for some of us, especially if we're pretty flexible, oh, it's so tempting to just go as deep as you can, but let's actually back off a little bit from your max depth. to work on some of these actions. So on the right leg, think of from the buttocks down to behind the knee, drawing down. And then from the front of the leg, the knee to the navel, pulling up. So we've got down in the back, up in the front. Let's keep that. Take the arms up and find that elevator lift. So the rib cage lifting off the pelvis, but not creating a back bend yet. We will in a second. Great. Now, if you want to add on here, like we did with the both hands, you'll just do the one. Right hand will hold the back of the head. Gently press head and hand. Reach the tip of the elbow up as the knee and shin press down. And then if it feels all right to lift up and go a little bit back, not too deep, small little back bend do. Let's everybody keep a little tone just below the navel. Keep that lift. And it's different than tucking the pelvis under. It's just to create a little bit of support. Let's put the head back and straight, put the arm back up, and then down we go with the hands. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and here we are in this other version of lunge. Pelvis draws back, chest draws forward. Without moving your hands, try to pull the hands towards the back of the mat. Move the chest forward. Press down a little more firmly into the left heel. Now from here, remember when we were on the belly doing that knuckle shalabhasana. Let's draw the arms back. Go ahead and make a fist, loose fist, and pull the front of the shoulders away from the floor and point the elbows back or up, kind of depending on your orientation. Slowly start to stretch the arms to straight, lengthen back through the fingers. Tone through the low belly without letting the shoulders collapse. So we're in this beautiful diagonal line position. One more breath in. And then on the exhale, down come the arms. If it feels good to go back and forth on the front leg, you can do a couple of rounds of that. Okay, so we're going to change sides. Let's step the back foot forward, the front leg back, heading first into lunge, and then set the knee down. Toes are tucked or flat, your choice. Let's come up, but resist the urge to go really low in the pelvis, a little bit forward. So just stay right where you are. And on the back leg, from the buttocks to the back of the knee, draw down. Then from the front of the knee to the navel, lift up. So we've got down in the back, up in the front. Keep that idea. Let's lift the ribs off the pelvis, lift the arms. And then if you want to add that extra, you'll bend the left elbow, hold the hand at the back of the head, press head and hand, lengthen. Tip of the elbow reaches up, but the shin goes down. If it feels all right to add in very small little back bend, do. Be sure that you keep the tone through the lower belly, just below the navel. Yes. Okay, up we come to center. And then let's release the arms. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Draw back through the pelvis, forward through the chest. With your hands, don't move them, but try to pull them back, and that'll help elongate the spine a little bit. Press firmly into the right leg heel. And then let's bend the elbows, draw back, broaden the collarbones, tone through the belly, and then slowly start to go straight in the arms. You can lengthen the fingers back behind you. Good, good. We'll just hold this for a moment. Down come the arms. If you want to go back and forth on the front leg, take it for a moment. That's it. And then with the front knee bend, if you're on the blocks, just move them out of the way. Your choice here. You could go to plank and stay for a little bit. You could come down to the belly, do a cobra, and then down dog. You could stay in down dog for a little bit. So yogi's choice for a couple of breaths. And then let's all meet when you're ready on the belly. So take your time to get there. Once you do arrive, scooch the legs back and down to give a little room for the front of the hips. You'll bend the right knee, hold on to the foot or the ankle. Now a little bit similar idea to what we were doing in the lunge. From the buttocks to the back of the knee, draw it down towards the knee. And then from the front of the knee towards the navel, draw up towards the front of the mat. You can flex the foot if you wish. Okay, and then let's release to the other side. So first, just bend the knee, find the foot. From the buttocks to the back of the knee, think of drawing down. But then from the front of the knee to the navel, draw up or forward. Maybe add in that flex of the foot. Okay, and then release the leg. Stay on the belly, just a little wiggle jiggle for a second. And then we'll take a pose similar to Sphinx, but a slightly different arm variation. So the elbows are on the floor a little bit ahead of the shoulders. Forearms are down. You could do palms down or interlace, whatever you want. And then just for a second, let yourself drop down a little bit towards the floor with the chest. And then with your forearms, press down and try to pull them back as the chest draws forward. And from there, there'll be just kind of a natural lifting effect in the neck and the head. Create that tone through the lower belly. That'll help prevent the little overarching in the back when we keep that little lift in the belly. Great, so here we are in Sphinx variation. Think about your shoulder blades pressing into the back as the forearms are pulling back, the chest drawing forward. So it's a very active position, even though it doesn't look terribly dramatic. Let's come down, take a little rest. Bend your knees, give the legs a little swish side to side. Okay, so let's go back to downward facing dog and we'll add in a calf stretch once you get there. Now, let me just say this, if being in down dog with a calf stretch doesn't work, go stand up and go by a wall and take kind of a lunge position, pressing the back heel down. If you're staying in down dog, take the right foot just a little forward and then try to straighten out the right leg, sink the heel downward. It doesn't have to touch. The left knee can either bend or maybe lift it. You could lift it a little, you could lift it a lot. You can fool around a little bit. Really though, do whatever gives you the best stretch in the right calf. Oh. Okay, yogis, we've got a left calf to do. So let's step the left foot just beside where the right one is. Try to straighten the leg, sink the heel towards the floor. Maybe you're maybe not actually getting there. Right knee could possibly bend. Maybe the right leg lifts. Yes. All right, release the legs. Let's head into a forward fold and then up to stand. Inhaling up. And exhaling the arms down. Yes. So from here, we'll take it into warrior one, and then we'll do a few other things, and then come back to warrior one and just see how it's different. So from the front of the mat, hands onto the hips. Let's step the right leg back with the heel down. And the further back you step the leg, the more the pelvis will turn open. And that's fine. That's just the way the anatomy works. So you decide how far back you're going with the heel easily down on something. Then from this position, press the heel firmly down and also try to press it back. Let's keep that. Bend the front knee. Just for a second, let the torso go a little bit to your right. But then leave the pelvis alone and turn the chest to face forward. So the chest is forward, pelvis will be on a little bit of a diagonal. From here, let's lengthen, lifting the ribs off the pelvis, and then the arms come up, and here we are in a warrior one position. Let's hold this for a little bit. Now, if anybody's getting a pinching sensation in the lower back, just hinge ever so slightly forward, and that should help. Everybody, keep that little tone just below the navel. That should help too. Okay, one more breath in. And then on the exhale, simply step forward, and we'll go to side two. So hands begin on the hips. We'll step the left leg back. You choose how far back you're going. From there, press the back heel down and back like you wanted to stretch out your mat. From here, bend the front knee. Just for a second, let everything, the torso, turn a little to the left. And then just leave the pelvis where it is. Turn the chest to point forward. And then up come the arms here. If you need to do that little hinge forward, do it. Otherwise, up you are. And then lift up just below the navel. Keep the back heel pressing down. Virabhadrasana 1. Some of you know this used to be my least favorite pose, but we've come to terms with each other, and now I rather like it. Let's take one more breath in. And then exhale, step it forward. And that's that for round 1. Before we do the next bit, let's just take a little hula hoop asana. Stirring the hips around a little circle. Other direction. And why not? Let's do this too. Take your feet just a bit wider than you normally stand. Bend the knees, bring the hips back, and rest the forearms on the thighs. At the tops of the thighs, press apart, like we did in down dog. In your feet, hug in a little bit through your ankles. And just hold that for a second. Nice to do something symmetrical after those warriors. All right, on the next inhale, come all the way up. And release the arms. So for this next bit, go get your yoga strap. And if you don't have a yoga strap at home, you'll just pretend you do. Or you could grab something that, well, you'll see what we're going to do. You can decide. So we're going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. So it's just approximately this size. We don't want it to be too huge. I'm going to sit down so I'm more on the camera, but you can sit or stand. And then hold the strap like so. See how my palms are facing down? And then I'll bend the elbows like this. It might feel better to have the thumbs on the other side. You decide there. So from here, the arms are in this sort of shape. Try to pull the strap apart and just notice where you feel effort. And notice here the elbows sometimes want to widen. Can you narrow the elbows in? Keep a little pull apart going on and then turn the hands so the palms face each other. Yes. Now for this part, keep this, pulling apart the strap, hugging the elbows in. Can you lift the elbows? It looks like nothing, but it's a lot of work. Lift up as high as you can. Notice here the ribs are coming up too. Let that happen at first. And now see if you can keep the elbows up and pull the ribs down. Yogis, I'm sweating bullets here. Okay, take a little break, relax. Move around a little bit because we're gonna do it again. Okay, only one more time. So bend the elbows. First have the palms facing forward. Pull the strap apart. Narrow the elbows. You don't have to go too far in, just so that the forearms are straight up and down. And then from here, turn the palms of the hands so they face each other. Go up as high as you can at first, letting the ribs come with. And then see if you can keep the elbows where they are as you pull the ribs down. Ah. Okay, a little break. Yogis. Okay, just wiggle it out. Yeah. Now from here, you'll take your strap and just open it one time so it's still folded in half but not in fourths anymore. And then for this one, you'll set the strap, it's not at the neck, it's a little higher than that at the back of the head. And you'll hold the strap like so. You don't want to pull too hard, just a little bit, pulling the strap forward and pressing the head back. And as long as it's feeling good, let yourself start to tilt upwards so we come into a little bit of a back bend. Great, and then back off. We're going to do that one again as well. I'm going to stand up just so that you can see how it looks standing. If you're already standing, that's great. So again, here, the strap is in the same place. And then very gently press head in the strap forward. And then as long as it's feeling all right, let yourself start to arc up and back. Now, if you're standing, you will likely feel as a counterbalance, the pelvis wants to press forward. Think of the very tops of the thigh bones pressing back, and then just behind the heart, find that spot and lift up and back. Aha. And then we'll return to center. Release the strap. Just keep holding it, but just wiggle around a little bit. You know, I should have said this. If you don't have a strap, you would do the handheld thing that we did in the very beginning. I'm sorry, I should have said that. So next we're going to do that in Warrior One. So either use the strap or your hands. Come to the front of the mat, and if you have blocks, have them handy because we're going to do another pose afterwards. So just hold on to your strap. Step the right leg back as far as you're going. We're going into Warrior One pose again. And then let's already set your strap or your hands in that position that we were just working on. Press the back heel down and back. Tone through the lower belly. And then let's just go a little bit here. And as you're ready, let the front knee start to bend, keeping the back heel pressing down, keeping that slight lift up just below the navel. Now, as long as you're feeling good here and you'd like to go further, you can. If it feels crummy for any reason in the neck or the lower back, just ditch this and come into the previous version that we were working earlier. Now, notice if your elbows are going wide, can you narrow the elbows? Let's come back up to the center, straighten out the front leg. Go ahead and just put the strap down. And then from here, we'll hinge from the hip crease, coming forward and down, landing your hands likely on the blocks here. Instead of taking a big forward fold, let's do more of a flat back position. Great, let's bend the front knee. Take your arms back, and then up we come, just a regular Warrior One pose. And step it forward to release. Alrighty, so we're going for side two. If you are not enjoying this extra bonus, just do the previous version. If it's not working out for you, no big deal. So the left leg steps back, heel down, and give the heel a pressure down and back. Go ahead and set up your prop, your strap or your hands. And then just go a little bit at first. Press the head into the strap forward. Let's bend the front knee to your depth, whatever works for you. And then from here, as long as it's feeling okay, let yourself arc up and back. Keep the tone through the low belly. Notice if the elbows are splaying wide, can you narrow the elbows? And here we are. To get out, gently, back to center. Let's take the strap away. Hinge forward to come down, landing in the flat back as opposed to the forward fold version of this. So get a little hamstring stretch and a little length through the torso. All right, friends, let's rebend the front knee, sweep your arms back. Inhale up, Warrior One pose. Exhale, step forward. And that's that. Let's move around a little bit. Now we'll shift gears somewhat. We'll do some Warrior Two side angle triangle poses. So you move your strap out of the way. You might want the blocks. Let's be at the front of the mat. Root down to rise up. Inhale. Exhale. Down we go, forward fold. Come up halfway, lengthen. On the way down, we'll step the right leg back for lunge. Lengthen long through the torso, turn the back heel to the floor, and then up we come to Warrior Two pose. So I'm not mirroring you here. From your Warrior Two position, let's take the suspender position again. So bring the thumbs in the armpits and pull up, yeah? Try not to go forward with the ribs, but just up. That's it. And then keep that idea as you stretch the arms out. Classic Warrior Two. You can gaze to look over the front hand if you wish. Now in a second, we'll take reverse warrior. The front knee is going to want to knock in. Keep the inner knee reaching forward. Let's shift a little forward, and then up we come just briefly here into our reverse warrior. Yes. Then to get into our side angle, deepen the left hip crease, hinge about halfway down, but not all the way down. Keep the left arm out, and then take the right arm up as well. And think of growing long through both sides of the waist. As you're ready, the bottom arm can come down, either forearm to thigh, or hand to the block, or to the floor. Your version of this is fine, but try not to collapse or come into a side bend. If that's happening, go up a little higher on the bottom arm. All right, yogis. Now in this one, think of the front leg, the sitting bone pulling towards the back leg heel. To get out of this, you're coming all the way back up, straighten out the front leg. Let's bring hands to the hips. Take a slight bend in the front knee, but not as deep as we just had. Find the same tilt in the pelvis that we just had. Think of lengthening long through both sides of the waist. Let's take the arms out into this arms overhead position, and then start to go straighter in the front leg. Reach the left arm out to come down, hand to the shin or to a block, and then go ahead and take the right arm just up towards the ceiling for a classic triangle. Gaze can be wherever it feels best on the neck. Sometimes it feels better to look down than to look up. When you're ready to get out, look down at the floor, bend the front knee, both hands come down, turn the back heel up. If you need to bend and straighten, do for a second. Yeah, and then let's take a little detour before side two. So back to downward facing dog we go. Take your feet wide, bend the knees, press the hips back, press the upper thighs apart, hug the ankles in. Keep that idea as the legs start to go straighter if you wish. If you want to keep them bent, that's fine. Tone through the lower belly. We'll reset so feet are just the normal distance apart. Let's come all the way forward, feet to the hands, but stay low. Halfway lift. On the way down, the left leg steps back. Just start in lunge pose. Lengthen long through the torso. Back heel turns down to the floor. Up we come to warrior two. Sorry, my back is to you, but we'll do all the same things. So from here, let's take our suspenders, thumbs in the armpit, pull up, not forward with the ribs, but up. Keep that idea as we take the arms out. Virabhadrasana 2 pose. Now before we take the reverse warrior, keep the inner right knee reaching forward. Don't let it turn in as we shift forward and come up. Reverse warrior. Then to come into side angle, let's go about halfway there. Take the arms up overhead. Keep the right side of the waist as long as the left side. And then you decide if you're coming forearm to thigh, hand to the block, to the floor, your choice. But try not to collapse and come into a side bend for this side angle pose. See if you can keep the right side of the waist long as well as the left. Press into the back heel. Inhale your way up to center. Let's have hands to the hips for a second. Take just a little bend in the front knee and find the same tilt in the pelvis that we just had. And then we'll stretch the arms out on the diagonal. Press now into the right heel to go straight in the leg. And as you're ready, come forward to come down, right hand to the shin or to your block. Left arm up towards the ceiling, and you can gaze up at the fingers or down at the right foot. When you're ready, look at the floor. Let's bend the right knee, bring the arm down, turn the back heel up. One more time, down dog. And if you like the version with the wide feet, just to create a little extra room for the pelvis and the low back, take that one. Yeah, and then let's let everybody come into child's pose just for a moment. Hips back towards the heels, arms could stay forward, or you could fold the hands and rest the forehead. You could take the arms back if you prefer. You want to move a little bit, take that. All righty, so let's head into down dog just as a transition. And from there, we'll come up to stand. Inhale all the way up. And release the arms. Yeah, so in a second, we'll take a wide-legged forward fold. Some of you, instead of coming down, might prefer hands at a wall or a chair or blocks. So set up however you're setting up. And let's take our wide stance. And before we go into the bend here, look at your feet and make sure one foot's not ahead of the other. We want them on the same line. Also make sure that the toes are pointing forward. They have a tendency to want to turn out here, so keep them forward. Great. Hands to the hips, very slight bend in the knees at first. And as we hinge, we want the hinge to be at the hip crease, not at the spine. So just keep the spine long as we hinge. Land your hands on whatever they're on, the floor, the wall, your blocks. And then before we straighten out the legs, we've done this a couple of times in other poses. Can you widen, press out a little through the upper thighs? Counter that action in your feet. Hug in through your ankles. And then from there, keeping both of those, slowly go straighter in the legs. Now, if your hands are on the floor or on blocks on the floor, walk the arms out, but don't move the hips forward. Go out as far as you can, possibly going onto your fingertips. Yeah. We'll hold this for a second. And then options, couple options. You could stay in the position that you're in. You could return hands right underneath the shoulders. Or some of you might like to go deeper, walking the hands back in line with the feet. You could do that with fingers forward, fingers back. There are a number of different possibilities here, so just take the one that you want to work on for a moment. Ready to come out. Let's reset so the hands are right underneath the shoulders. Bend the knees slightly. Tone through the low belly. Press out through the upper thighs. Keep all of that. Hands come to the hips and just come up rather quickly. We don't want to linger there. And then bring yourself back together. Okay. Let's move around a little bit. Let's take Lubasana because we can. Other way. All right, yogis, so a lot of kind of work through the back body. We're going to tone a little next through the front body. It's a variation of boat pose, but we're going to keep our feet on the floor. So let's come into this position with the knees bent, the feet on the floor, hands behind you, and you go up onto the heels. Now, feel what happens in your body when you press the heels down and pull them towards the buttocks. Notice what happens in the lower back and in the torso. And then do the opposite. Press the heels down and push them forward. And do you feel how that one kind of rounds the low back? So let's do the pull back again. Heels pull back towards the buttocks. Keeping that, tone through the low belly. Yeah. Now, you can either stay with hands down, you could lift one and alternate, or you could lift both hands up. Do those, see if you can keep the pulling back action in the heels. Yeah, and I find actually this boat, I get more out of it here than I do when the legs are lifted. Okay, take a little break, we'll go in again. You might try taking the feet slightly further forward. That might just change it a little bit, try it. And then let's go one more time. Heels press down, pull the heels towards you. Feel the low back draw into the body, and then counter that by a little tone through the belly. You decide, hands stay down, you lift one, and then the other alternating, or you lift them both, but try to keep the heels pulling towards the buttocks. Yeah. Funny, it looks like nothing. It looks like an easier version, but I think it's harder. Okay, and then relax. Stretch out the legs. Give them a little wiggle jiggle. Okay, so we'll take just a little hip flexor stretch after that. Zigzag asana. So you bend the knees, drop the knees over to the right, and I'm going to actually go to the left. You know what? I'm going to go this way so that you can see all the angles. Right hand will go down to the floor by the right hip, and then when you're ready, you'll come up out of the knees and the shins and lift. And hopefully you'll get a little stretch through the front of the left side there. Down we come. Let's switch the legs, other side. Zigzag to the left. Left hand to the floor. Up we come onto the knees and shins. Oh, yeah. This side is tighter for today. Usually it's my left one. All right, and then down we come. Let's undo, coming back to center. And just lengthen the legs. You can give them a little jiggle again. Now, next we'll take bridge pose. And even if you're not doing bridge pose, do the beginning because it's a nice little strengthener for the upper back. Let me show the position that we'll take. So you come down like so. So when you're ready, join me. So we're on our back, the elbows are bent, palms are facing each other. And this, it's a little similar to that knuckle position, but now we're flipped over on our back. So before we do the next thing, lean a little to one side and tuck the other shoulder, like kind of just tuck it under, and then lean to that side and do the other one. So you're more on the backs of the arms, and there's like a little gap in between the shoulder blades. Now from here, remember when we were lifting the knuckles up off the floor. For this one, that same action is pressing the upper arms down. So keep that. Press the center of the head, not hard, but just a little bit into the floor to create a little tone in there. Jalandhara Bandha. And then you'll stay in the position, but back off the pressure. Nice. Now you could decide, you could just keep working on that. You could do a little press and release. Or if you want to take it into a bridge pose, let's start there. So press the arms into the floor, press the head, and then let the hips lift. Yeah. So let this version of bridge be more about the upper body. Keep the arms pressing into the floor. If you're still with me, lift the heels and let the back of the pelvis pull a little away from the back of the ribs. That should give the low back a little space. And then for everybody, nice and easy, down we come. You can untuck the shoulders. Let's take the feet a little bit wider and just do a side-to-side leg swish. Now as a counter pose from that one, let's pause. Stretch the left leg out long, bring the right knee into the chest and just hold on, interlace in front of the shin. Press the shin into the hands and hover the left leg. Now for this one, press the low back towards the floor. You could stay down or you could come up lifting the head and the shoulders. And then we'll come back down and twist, bringing the right leg over to the left side. And you decide how far you want to go and twist. And then we'll rinse and repeat. Come back to center. Stretch the right leg out. Bring the left one in. Interlace in front of the shin. Press the shin forward. Press the low back into the floor and hover the right leg. Maybe this is enough. Maybe you lift head and shoulders. And just hold for a second. Down we come. Taking the leg over here for a twist. You choose the depth. And then when you're ready, back to center we come. let's take both feet to the floor and just press the hands into the legs. Just to do something symmetrical after those other things. And then back off, we'll do it one more time. Press hands into the legs, right at the tops, the root of the thighs there. Yeah. All right, and then we'll back off of that. If there's any last little something, maybe another little twist or windshield wipers, whatever you need before Shavasana, take it. And then I'll offer an idea for Shavasana if you want to try it. It's kind of like a little homemade bolster. So you can put the blocks together side by side. Any height is fine. And then the blanket on top of that. And that'll serve as a little ledge for the legs to go upon. Yeah, so just an option. Oh, this feels good. However you've landed, just allow yourself to settle. You did a lot of opening through the front body, but now see if you can let the front of the body relax and just drop in. Relax your face, the chest, the belly. Whole body to breathe. And deepen your breath. Take The movement in the fingers and the toes. Maybe a little movement in your head. Whenever you're ready, let your knees bend. Roll over to one side. And from there, take your time to come up to sit. Meet with hands at heart center. Thank your body for everything that it's able to do. And thank yourself for being here. Namaste.